Welcome to Thinkin, a podcast series by Kautilya School of Public Policy.
Good afternoon and welcome to Thinkin podcast. Today we have with us Mr. Hari Krishna N. He is a disaster resilience and climate change specialist. So it's late afternoon. Did you have lunch?
Yes, it's a very good lunch and it's so good that I'm feeling sleepy.
Glad. So Mr. Hari Krishna N works in areas of sustainable development, climate change, international humanitarian affairs, international relations, entrepreneurship and innovation. Sir, that is a very long list. Could you please tell our viewers how did you get into this field?
Yes, thank you Anna. It's lovely to be here. And thank you also, thanks to your institution for good food, and you ensure good food security here. That's very, very important. Actually, I wanted to be a journalist when I was a kid, and I wanted to write, and especially on the issues of public interest. And it so happened that in 1990s, where I used to live in Hyderabad, we used to have a very big forest in our neighborhood. It was actually well protected forest because it was a private forest. And we just used to play there, and we used to have a very cool environment even in the summers and all that. And one fine day, the government of the day decided to basically cull all the trees in the forest to build some shopping complex or something like that. They did it. And there were people did not know how to protest it, and it just happened. And in front of our eyes, the beautiful birds and foxes and all different kinds of animals that we used to see, and the cool breeze that we used to get, all gone. And the temperatures also have significantly changed. So as a young boy, I used to go there and look at it and the change, and I used to feel very sad about it. So that was when I was in my adolescent age, and then that time I thought, okay, I will be a journalist, but I will be an environmental journalist, write about it. That's how the spirit of environmental conservation started in me, seeing that destruction. But as I grew, and I actually became, I studied communication and journalism from Usmania University, and later on from the Hyderabad University. And I actually tried my hands in environmental journalism and produced some, I've written a lot those days, and also produced some environmental documentaries as a professional. But I had to shift from there because those days, late 90s, were not really great opportunities in environmental journalism. If you want to write about political issues, there's a lot of opportunities, but not really environmental issues in India. So I had to sadly leave that field, but happily I moved on to the environmental practice. I started working for environmental NGOs. And that's how my entry into this field, and almost 3 decades are over. I started with grassroots work, working with communities for protecting ecosystems and all that. Today I largely work both with the communities as well as the policies at the national and global level.
So there's an ongoing protest in HCO right now for a piece of land being for deforestation. The story that you told, I think, remains the same, but at least now there is protest from students. So how do you see the shift, and do you see a future for climate action and the role of students and public policy?
Yes, thank you for asking this question, and I feel really connected because I studied there. And Hyderabad University, the campus, we just used to spend inside that and see the bird nests. There are very, very unique species that actually habitat in University of Hyderabad. And what we are seeing today is not just the loss of tree wealth. it is also a loss of tremendous biodiversity. That is the real richness of Hyderabad, actually speaking. And but what we know the political economy that behind all these things are happening. Unfortunately, what I experienced, as I mentioned before, as an adolescent, is actually happening now in the place where I studied, and I'm happy that some students are protesting. But compared to what has been the historical lung power of protest of University of Hyderabad, this is nothing, and this is not good enough. But thanks for asking this question. Maybe some of the old students like us should also join the protest and strengthen their collective action.
So how do you see the role of international organizations in local fights like these, and especially now that Trump's policy, due to his policies, there is a huge withdrawal of climate finance from that. So how do you see the landscape changing?
Yes. See, it's there is the globally there is a definite shift from the US, especially at least in the US, from on climate change. But what current President Trump is saying vociferously, bluntly, stating his stand against the climate change commitments of his country. I have been sensing that many other developed countries are also taking that position, but not saying as much as he is saying. And in my view, he is actually providing them a cover from their own non-actions, non-committal attitude towards the climate change. And I have witnessed in COP29 and also COP28 that they are looking for every opportunity for escape from these commitments and agreements. But the Trump is saying that, and they are not saying it.
So then, do you think common but differentiated responsibility still has a standing, the framework? Is there a scope for it in future, or do we need to revise it?
No, I mean, it has to have a future, but India has been voicing it very strongly. And but the problem is that and when it comes to the negotiation table, typically the divide and rule takes place. And a lot of, if you know the mechanism, a lot of developed countries have backroom maneuvering of developing countries. So many developing countries may agree with you in principle, in spirit, but they are pulled back by their domestic compulsions that were created by other countries that have a big presence there. So this argument should go on, although it's not effective yet, but it should go on.
Yes. So, sir, if not the US, then which countries or regions do you see as emerging as global leaders in sustainability?
I think there are some countries, they have their own internal committed policies and mechanisms, like Finland, like Sweden, to some extent also Norway, and some other European countries. They have very robust sustainability policies and practices in their countries. Other than that, countries like Japan, they also try to balance a little bit. But what we must know is that full commitment and implementation of sustainable policies in a given country is not the cup of tea of every country, because it requires a lot of things to come together. You need to have an aware public. You need to who are ready to pay additional taxes for sustainability. You need to have good institutions that are equally committed, and you need to have various layers of leadership, which is not necessarily political leadership. All types of leadership that create public opinion. So all these things have to come together for a country to be sustainable champion.
So do you think of India as a country that has that potential to become a sustainable global leader, or is there a lack of recognition in India's efforts, especially in EV sector and afforestation?
Excellent question. On your first part of your question, where India has a future, I can see, and especially when I come to your school and interact with the students like you, I can see that future. But when I go out of the classroom, I get little bit disappointed. But of course, I think people like you and your fellow students, they have to work hard and with commitment to strengthen this spirit within the country. And but there are a lot of people who are invisible but can make great contributions to making our country also sustainable. We need to connect with them, and we need to make an extra effort to reach out to them. For instance, I can say that a lot of older people, you see, a lot of older people have immense spirit of sustainability, skills of sustainability, and the knowledge of sustainability. But we need to understand that they have a lot to contribute, and we need to take their potential into account. That's one way. And to the what is the second part of your question?
Is India a country where the efforts that it's making towards sustainability is not being recognized?
Excellent. Yes, not sufficiently recognized. I think for the last couple of years, we can see that India is making deliberate and determined and decisive efforts within its own capacity to make their policies climate friendly and environmental friendly, although they are not enough if you look at the scale of the challenge that we have. But India is demonstrating the commitment, but it is not talked about, and it is not really highlighted in the international media, which routinely says that India is the third largest polluter, but do not have enough appetite to look into the actions that we are taking. But at the same time, I must also mention that compared to what we can do, we are not doing enough. It is not maybe because of the lack of government commitment. It is also because of lack of public awareness. If you forget the international community, in our own country, people do not know what we are doing. They do not know the value of these actions, and they must know.
So, developing countries like India often face a bureaucratic challenge, especially like you mentioned, involving students and older generations into climate action. So, what suggestions would you make towards improving that?
I think let's look at the suggestions to who. Okay. Let me look at it this way. First let me look at. I will take first segment is the NGOs, okay, non-governmental organizations, who may or who may not have resources, and they should take the leadership for organizing and mobilizing all these communities, and enhancing the awareness, enhancing capacities, and bring their potential into the policy and action. That's number one. NGOs have to do that. The second, people who are aware, people who feel for these things should just not be indoor intellectual. They should move into the action. I think this is something that we are missing in this country for a long time because of the different reasons like onslaught of the media and entertainment, whatever, and we stopped going into the streets, and that has to happen. And people who sincerely are committed to this should also do some legwork. And finally, it is also the responsibility of the media to motivate people to take actions, and also the government providing some kind of guidelines, incentives. Most importantly, the government should give incentives for people who take sustainability actions. If you know, in 2023 October, Government of India has passed green credit policy. You see, but people do not know about it, and there is still no operational mechanism that is set in place, it is not enough to pass a policy or a law. It is also important to make public aware of this. Yeah.
So these indoor intellectuals that you're talking about, what skills do you think they need to build, or government needs to give them training for them to become climate action heroes?
There should be an enabling environment the government can create. You see, government can organize meetings, interactions with the ministers. Which government means with what government? I mean, if you are sitting in Hyderabad, it should be the local state government. So, in respective places, the local government should take that initiative, and that's what they can do. And the people which we are talking about, they also should inspire themselves to move their buttocks and come to the streets and do some action. And most important, that we should have a consistent messaging in the media, and also showcasing inspiring stories and examples and case studies. So this is the way people can move.
So what are some key areas and upcoming developments in this area that policy students like us and our viewers should keep a keen eye on?
Yes, definitely. I think there are many areas. I think most important area is that there is an enormous in situ sustainable and climate finance opportunity. What I mean by in situ means that by conserving environment, by protecting climate change through different actions, you can create entrepreneurship opportunities. There is, especially because the international climate finance is dwindling, and even if it is there, countries like India do not access it much. We have our own resources, and we have a policy not to accept international support extensively. So but there are a lot of things that people young professionals do. They can do innovations. They can come up with a lot of green innovations in the EV sector or in the agricultural sector or in health sector. A lot of innovations. There is a scope, and there is enormous opportunities like platforms, forums, and venture financing for innovative entrepreneurs in the sustainability area. To name a few, like you go to MIT Climate Collab and United Nations Sustainable Social Development Network, and within the country there are a lot of private sector. I don't remember the names of them, but there are many number of private sector organizations that are promoting innovations with finance and mentorship. So people can innovate and convert that innovation into a product, a marketable product, and can become entrepreneurs. And one more area I will mention is that ESG is one area where a lot of capacity is needed, a lot of research is needed, a lot of advice is needed by the private sector, and young people can actually get into that areas instead of worrying about not getting a seat in IIMs or IITs. There is a lot of opportunity here they can do. Not only to create a livelihood for themselves, but also to 10 other people. And one very interesting thing that is that like carbon sequestration is a huge area, and there's a lot of international demand, and that carbon trading economy is growing. It's going to $1.5 trillion by the end of this decade. And there we need a lot of carbon audit experts, carbon accountants, carbon researchers, and also carbon trading entrepreneurs, carbon risk managers. There are different opportunities are there, and for people who are interested, the sky is the limit.
So you mentioned carbon sequestration. Could you please explain what that is?
It's basically that you see a lot of carbon, a lot of companies when they produce carbon, and they cannot basically take it back, you see, but they can at least equal amount of carbon they can sequester by putting this equal amount of soil back in the soil. For instance, one of the important elements of carbon sequestration is biochar. Biochar is produced by burning wood and leaves at a certain degree of heat, and like 200 degrees, 150 degrees heat, and then that biochar is produced, and that is very good material for soil fertility, and it also captures a lot of carbon. And when you put it into the soil, and actually carbon sequestration takes place, and a lot of companies are trading their carbon emissions with buying this kind of biochar from the startups and farmer communities. One recent example was that Google has purchased $100,000 worth of carbon in Gujarat from a startup, and as their commitment towards carbon sequestration. And this is growing. This is one of the area which is expanding rapidly worldwide, and that's where young people can actually look at work. There's a vast amounts of lands, lot of wood waste is created in Hyderabad itself, and housing colonies, okay, and communities, they can actually adopt this technique to reduce the carbon and create carbon sequestration, which they can use for fertilization of the soil, as well as sell it to the companies for carbon trading. But the market is not fully mature. Technology is also not fully known to everyone. But we need to take steps towards creating awareness in that direction, because with the international climate finance is dwindling, we need to look up to the private sector, and this is one area where we can actually generate resources from the private sector.
So this biochar production, can this be done in a decentralized and localized, maybe small to medium industries and not only large scale industries?
It can be done, but when you want to bring it to the market, it should be at scale. That's why it is important different communities join together as a federation, as a shareholders entity, something like that. So at scale is what is important for market. For the soil, even the small amount is enough. For the market, the scale is important. So it is very much possible for smaller communities, but they have to come together.
Thank you so much for your sharing your stories, your experience, and your perspectives. So this was a very enlightening discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yana. All the best to you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all for today's episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more.